News at 5.
More coronavirus cases are expected at the Shutter Creek Correctional Institution, where 13 inmates and 2 staff members have tested positive. Good evening and thanks for joining us for NBC 16 at 5. I'm Alan Matthews. Shutter Creek remains the highest for positive coronavirus tests of adults in custody statewide. NBC 16's Lauren Negretti reports on what actions are being taken.
I'm expecting more cases.
While the number of cases remains at 15, public health officials in Coos County say there could be a third wave at the Shutter Creek Correctional Institution.
Anybody that the 2nd through 15 cases could have come into contact with could be just incubating right now.
He says there are pending tests. Leon says they ran into an issue because a scheduled release occurred close to the first case. The Department of Corrections was forced to give them a late notice without a contact number for the inmate. They're making it a priority to know scheduled releases and how to contact those inmates weeks in advance.
Make sure they're educated about all the things they need to be looking out for, make sure that they're isolating any needs that they may have, might be taken care of so as not to discourage isolation, just trying to remove all the barriers to keep them safe and to keep the community safe.
Shutter Creek has more than 300 inmates in quarantine. According to the Department of Corrections, 6 inmates were released at the end of their sentence in April, and 3 are scheduled for release next month. Leon confirms he is aware of at least 2 adults that were released back into the Coos County community. The state, working with local health and corrections officials, is addressing the steps needed for all releases during COVID-19. According to the Department of Corrections, all inmates being released from custody have a pre-release screening form shared with county community corrections agencies. Reporting in Coos County, I'm Lauren Negretti.
On another note, Shutter Creek will coordinate with the Department of Forestry for their wildland fire and camp support crew program as normal. 2 crews have already been sent out. Well, many jails in Oregon have made efforts to cut the number of inmates they house during this pandemic. The State Sheriff's Association reports average daily population counts in county jails have dropped 45% since early to mid-March. Lane County Sheriff Cliff Harold says the local jail has taken a 35 to 40% cut in the number of inmates behind bars. One reason is that fewer people are being arrested and coming into the jails.
It's our partner agencies within the county who have been being very judicious about who really needs to come to jail after an arrest or who might be able to be cite and released.
Harold says some older inmates with compromised immune systems have been released from custody. The Springfield Municipal Jail before the pandemic was averaging about 50 inmates daily. Commander Tom Rappe says that number is down considerably. NBC 16's Tom Adams will join us in the studio at 5:30 with a look at those decreasing numbers. Well, today is the 6th day where there hasn't been a new coronavirus case in Lane County. This comes as more testing is available for residents and healthcare workers. Spokesperson Jason Davis urges that if you have mild symptoms of COVID-19, don't hesitate to contact your doctor. Davis says many tests are currently not being used and should be now. And if you are a healthcare provider, he urges you to consider testing these people.
If you are a member of the public and experiencing some of those classic COVID symptoms, those mild symptoms, do feel empowered to call your provider and have that conversation about testing. We want to see that increase because, as I mentioned, we do have tests here locally that are not being utilized.
There have been no positive cases in Lane County for several days in a row. The number of confirmed positive test results stays at 50. Of those, 2 people have died and 30 people have recovered. Next at 5:30, Davis explains what the continuation of 0 new cases shows for flattening the curve. Now let's take a look at coronavirus cases across the state. Despite adding another 61 new cases and 2 new deaths, making that more than 2,300 cases and 101 deaths, only 569 people are hospitalized. The state is also looking good on its numbers for overall hospital capacity. Numbers in our region have remained the same for the most part. Benton County remains at 29 cases. Lynn County added another case, making that a total of 82. Here in Lane County, as we mentioned, we remained at 50 cases with no one hospitalized. Deschutes County stands at 75 cases. Douglas County stands at 23 for the 13th day in a row. 15 people have recovered there, and Coos County, meanwhile, remains at 15. Leaders from 8 Oregon counties are asking Governor Kate Brown to let them reopen their economies. That includes Douglas, Coos, Curry, Jackson, Josephine, Umatilla, Harney, and Baker counties. Brown asked counties to send their plans to reopen last week. Baker County is the only one on that list that has 0 cases. Now looking ahead to the possibility of when restaurants in Oregon can completely reopen, Governor Kate Brown's office is currently communicating with restaurant industry stakeholders. The Deputy Communications Director for the governor's office, Charles Boyle, says, quote, taking measures to maintain adequate physical space for employees and patrons, emphasize cleanliness and sanitation with a focus on infection prevention and control, and modify business practices to promote a safe and healthy dining experience are all on the table. Of course, any decision will involve elected officials and feedback from the restaurant industry. An update tonight is a Sweet Home house fire that killed 4 people yesterday is now being considered a criminal investigation. Sweet Home Police Department says that evidence indicates the victim sustained trauma not related to the fire. Police say there is no concern for public safety. The names of the victims are yet to be released. We will continue to bring you the latest information as we get it. One man is now in custody after Eugene police say he stole a gun from a sporting goods store. EPD says Morris Thalheimer took off with a gun around 11:30 from Mazamas on Bailey Hill Road and West 11th. He was located around 1 this afternoon in a wooded area near 7th and Bailey Hill Road. While Thalheimer is in custody, EPD says he may have had contact with another person. The rifle is still missing and the investigation is ongoing.
Another beautiful day across western Oregon as far as the temperatures go, but we did see increased cloud coverage as we pressed through the rest of the afternoon hours and now into the evening time frame. But a contender that we have to deal with is the high pollen counts, especially for trees. Grass now up to moderate levels and something that we'll have to be dealing with at least through our weekend. But daytime highs today managed to make it into the upper 60s through the valleys, down towards the Umpqua Valley, down really making it to the mid 70s. But of course, those overcast skies on our Wednesday paints a pretty gloomy picture as we look at our radar and satellite over the past several hours. But keeping temperatures tonight on the mild side into the low 40s and daytime highs tomorrow slightly cooler than today. But I'm tracking widespread rain. Those details in a few minutes.
All right, thanks a lot, Josh. Well, the UO is extending their decision day deadline until September 1st in an effort to respond to requests by concerned students and parents. Usually the deadline for high school seniors to commit is May 1st, but now students who have been accepted and those who have already committed for the fall semester will have more time to decide if they want to attend. Students who enroll sooner will remain on track for housing options, class registration, and orientation programs. eWeb is providing more than $200,000 to help customers pay their bills starting on May 1st. Customers can apply for a $260 credit. This is part of eWeb's year-round bill assistance program to residents who meet income guidelines. Now eWeb is extending the program to those who are now unemployed. The program reopens the first day of each month. Applications are accepted first come, first served until funds are fully allocated for the month. You can apply on eWeb's website at 9 a.m. on Friday. With stay-at-home orders in place, fewer Oregonians are on the roads. The amount of traffic has dropped 40 to 60% on Oregon highways, that according to the Oregon Department of Transportation. This has led to a 60% decrease in fatal car accidents compared to April last year. With fewer cars on the road and a decline in accident risk, many insurance agencies are reducing their rates during the pandemic. We spoke with a PEMCO insurance spokesperson who says if you're driving less, there may be options to reduce costs during the pandemic.
One thing that I would recommend is just go ahead and contact your insurance company to talk to them about ways to possibly save even more money. If you are driving fewer miles, maybe there's a low mileage discount that could be applied right now.
Wing says that drivers are still legally required to have insurance even if you don't drive often. He also says it's important to have insurance in case your car is damaged while it's parked. After 8 weeks of construction, the Delta Highway to Interstate 105 ramp is open for drivers. Barriers were removed earlier today around noon. The westbound lanes of I-105 are still closed for construction until June. Scheduling plans for eastbound travel lane closures have not been finalized. Make sure to visit tripcheck.com for any updates. Well, could gasoline one day be replaced with an environmentally friendly type of biofuel? An international team of researchers thinks yes. A researcher at Oregon State University has just made a key breakthrough in developing a metal organic framework that could separate a possible biofuel from biomass. It's known as biobutanol, which is an alcohol with strong potential to act as fuel for vehicles. They hope to steer away from the fossil fuel industry. Researchers say this could potentially cut carbon emissions from cars by 33%.
We have to come up with engineering, an engineering technology on how we can integrate these materials in our cars.
There are still years of research to be done in finding a possible replacement for gasoline. Currently, OSU researchers are looking to partner up with industries to further test the method. Oregon State Parks will not reopen as soon as expected. The State Parks Department announced parks will stay closed beyond May 8th. That's when the closures were set to expire. All reservations have been canceled through May 25th. At this point, there's no set date for when parks in Oregon will reopen. In Washington, they're set to reopen next Tuesday for day use only. And for the latest information about coronavirus, make sure to visit